When someone throws thorns in your path, the universe has a way of turning them into the very crown they're forced to wear. That's the law of balance. Every strike against you eventually bends back on the one who launched it. Critics thought they could bury you, sabotage you, laugh as you stumbled, but they never realized that life keeps perfect accounts. Their hatred was not a weapon, it was fertilizer. Their attacks became the very fuel that ignited your growth. That is the irony they cannot swallow. Every move they made against you was logged into the ledger of cosmic justice. And now, the very traps they built for you have become cages that lock them in. Like wolves circling a fire, they thought they'd watch you burn. Instead, the flames lit your path while leaving their faces scorched by their own schemes. That is the torment of your enemies. The Chosen One doesn't just survive sabotage. The Chosen One transforms it into ascendancy. And make no mistake, your rise haunts them. It keeps them awake at night, wondering how someone they tried to break is now the shadow that follows them, the reminder of what they'll never be. You are living proof that universal balance bends only in one direction, toward those aligned with growth, not destruction. So before we dive deeper, pause this moment, Chosen One. Like this video, subscribe now and step into a future where your power is undeniable and your enemies are nothing more than ghosts of their own failure. Chosen Ones, before we tear open the truth of this secret bidding war, pause for a moment. Hit that like button, subscribe right now, and drop the number 77 in the comments so I know you're one of us. The untouchables they can't buy, the ones haunting their nightmares. Every action you take here strengthens this message, pushes it further, and builds the unstoppable wave they can't control. Trust me, what you're about to hear will flip the game upside down and expose why the elite are clawing at each other just to be near your energy. Stay locked in until the end, because if you're truly chosen, this isn't just another video, it's the mirror of your destiny. Number 1. Stop letting them secretly bid for your soul, anchor in your own value. From the very beginning, you broke their blueprint. You didn't bow, you didn't beg, and you didn't even acknowledge the invisible chains they swore were unbreakable. To them, that was unthinkable. They ran you through their standard filters, their assessments, their quiet investigations designed to label every potential threat. Were you competition? An exploitable pawn? Just another lost soul waiting to be folded into their hierarchy? The results came back blank. You didn't fit. You weren't part of their carefully crafted categories. You weren't even on the map. And for a system obsessed with control, nothing is more terrifying than the anomaly that refuses to play the game. Their first warning sign came not from what you did, but from what you refused to do. When they paraded influence in front of you, you didn't blink. When they dangled wealth like meat before starving dogs, you weren't hungry. When they offered access to rooms others had sold their souls to enter, you politely declined, leaving them frozen in disbelief. Every rejection hit them harder than any open rebellion could have, because you revealed a truth they'd spent lifetimes trying to bury. Some people cannot be bought. Some people stand unshaken, even when the world leans on them to kneel. For decades, they've been masters of the same old formula. Everyone has a weakness, everyone has a price. They assumed, sooner or later, you'd crack. That if they couldn't tempt you with riches, they could corner you with fear. But their weapons bounced off like dull arrows against iron. Your silence said more than any speech ever could. I don't need what you're selling. I don't crave what you're protecting. I already hold what you can't control. That was the moment their confusion hardened into recognition, and recognition is what scared them most. They realized you weren't ignorant of their power. You were simply indifferent to it. While they clutched at titles, platforms, and symbols of status, you walked freely with something untouchable: inner command. Real authority that doesn't come from followers, positions, or possessions, but from being aligned so deeply with yourself that nothing external can sway your direction. Their own spies confirmed the nightmare. You lived simply, yet radiated contentment they couldn't manufacture. You built bonds from sincerity, not strategy. Your choices weren't pushed by pressure, but pulled by clarity. And the most disturbing piece of all, you were happy without any of the tokens they insisted were required for happiness. You cracked the code they swore didn't exist. You unlocked the kind of freedom they had spent empires trying to suppress. Number 2. Don't collapse under manufactured authority. Stand in authentic power. Chosen ones, the elites built their empire on smoke and mirrors, and they expected you to bow before it. Their authority was never real. It was manufactured, crafted from staged symbols, empty titles, and false crowns. For years, they conditioned the world to believe that their word was law, that their approval was essential, that their networks were untouchable. But here you stand, proof that all of it crumbles when confronted by authentic power. When you refuse to kneel, you shattered their illusion. They thought prestige would bend you. They thought flashing wealth would blind you. They thought exclusive doors would make you beg for entry. Yet every time they paraded their stage tricks, you stayed still, unmoved, unshaken. And that silence hit harder than any rebellion. Because in that moment they realized authority only exists where people give it permission, and you gave them none. This is why the secret bidding war is erupting. They're not just fighting for access to you, they're fighting to survive the collapse of their own manufactured throne. Your presence exposes their fragility. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, you dismantle their control. Every time you stand firm while they tremble, you show the world that their crowns are cardboard and their castles are built on sand. So don't collapse under their weightless authority. Stand tall in your power, because the more you remain unshaken, the more their desperation will grow, and the world will see them for what they truly are. Desperate actors scrambling for a seat beside the chosen. Number 3. Refuse their labels. Become the force they cannot categorize. Chosen ones, the system has always thrived on one tactic: labeling. They build boxes, categories, identities, and shove people into them like products on a shelf. This one is controllable. That one is ambitious, but breakable. This one can be bought. That one will bend if the pressure is right. For years, this is how they maintained their empire of control, by reducing people to predictable roles in a play they wrote. But then you walked in, and suddenly the script was useless. When they tried to define you, nothing fit. Were you competition? No, because you didn't chase what they chase. Were you a pawn? Impossible. You refused their board entirely. Were you ignorant of the rules? That would have been easy for them to exploit, but the truth was far sharper. You knew the rules, and you simply didn't care. That was their first shock, and it cut deeper than any rebellion. Because the chosen one isn't uneducated in power games, you're simply uninterested in games altogether. Every label they attempted to pin on you slid off like rain against stone. They called you reckless, yet you were precise. They called you arrogant, yet you were grounded. They whispered that you were lost, yet your direction was more certain than theirs had ever been. In their world, everything must be named and measured, but you exist outside their measurement. And here lies the secret. The moment they fail to categorize you, you become their worst nightmare. You transform from a variable into an unknown, from a pawn into a force of nature. They can't buy what they can't define. They can't trap what doesn't fit the cage. You are the glitch, the paradox, the storm without warning. Number 4. Ignore their tricks. Indifference is your shield of victory. Chosen ones, when the elite realize they can't control you, they resort to tricks. They flash their hollow trophies, drop names like weapons, parade access to secret rooms as if stepping inside them would validate your worth. To others, these illusions feel irresistible, but to you, they are nothing but smoke. And that indifference, that refusal to be dazzled by their shallow theater, cuts them deeper than any confrontation ever could. They expect you to bite the bait, to kneel at the altar of their so-called privilege. But when you shrug at their offers and walk away untouched, the shockwaves ripple through their entire system. Because in their world, everyone has a weakness, everyone has a price, everyone eventually bends. Yet you remain unmoved, exposing the cracks in their fortress with nothing more than your stillness. Your silence is their nightmare. Every time you refuse to react, they lose another weapon. They whisper, "Why won't this one break? Why won't they play along?" The answer terrifies them. You don't need what they're offering. You've already tapped into a power they can't sell, borrow, or replicate. Remember this: indifference isn't passivity, it's dominance. By ignoring their tricks, you prove they hold no sway over you. Like fire that won't burn, like chains that fall through empty air, you show them their control is an illusion. While they scramble, desperate for your attention, your refusal becomes the sharpest blade. Your calm is a storm they cannot survive. Stay indifferent, chosen one, because that is how you win the war without lifting a single weapon. Number 5. Don't chase approval. Recognize your inner authority. Chosen ones understand this. Approval is the leash they use to drag the masses in circles. They dangle applause like a bone, and people scramble, begging for recognition from hands that secretly despise them. But not you. You were never built to chase claps or bow to borrowed crowns. That's why their system can't process you. You refuse to play their game. Every power broker, every self-proclaimed authority counts on one thing: that eventually everyone bends the knee to gain validation. They rely on the weakness of needing to be seen, needing to be stamped worthy by institutions that feed off submission. But you shattered that expectation with your very existence. You don't hunger for their nod. You don't beg for their spotlight. You don't seek entry to rooms that collapse without your presence. And here's what makes them sick. While they hoard influence, titles, and trophies to fill the void inside, you walk with a calm that they can't manufacture. Your power isn't borrowed, it isn't delegated, it flows directly from your inner alignment. That kind of authority doesn't need microphones or thrones. It speaks without speaking, and it bends environments without lifting a finger. This is why they panic when you enter. Your silence speaks louder than their speeches. Your refusal to chase approval exposes their desperation for it. They can't stand the mirror you hold up to their hollow empires. And the cruel irony: the more they ignore you, the stronger you grow. The more they dismiss you, the more undeniable you become. Number 6. Don't absorb their panic. Stay rooted while their system shakes. Chosen one, the walls of their empire are trembling, and the sound of their panic echoes louder than any victory speech they ever gave. They can't disguise it anymore. Their alliances fracture like glass under pressure, their carefully built order collapsing in slow motion. Every whisper in their corridors carries your name. Every late-night strategy meeting circles back to the same question: how do we control the uncontrollable? The truth is, they can't. And that realization is ripping them apart from the inside. But here's where your power sharpens. Do not let their panic bleed into you. Their fear is contagious, designed to spread like smoke, choking those who breathe it in. Stay rooted. Remember, storms only uproot what lacks foundation. You are not a loose branch tossed in the wind. You are the mountain they break themselves against. Their chaos is the tax they pay for trying to play God in a universe that always corrects itself. They plotted in shadows, pulling strings for decades, convinced that no one could live outside their grip. And then you appeared, calm, steady, immune to their bait. That composure drives them mad. Their system shakes precisely because yours doesn't. You don't fight their fire with fire. You suffocate it with stillness. You don't match their frenzy. You disarm it with presence. And while they crumble under the weight of their own paranoia, you rise untouched. A reminder that the chosen don't bend to chaos. They make chaos irrelevant. Number 7. Avoid their desperate bidding war. Walk calmly above the chaos. Chosen one, understand this. When the elite realize they cannot control you, they begin to fight each other for even a shadow of your presence. The bidding war has nothing to do with partnership and everything to do with survival. They see in you what they cannot manufacture, authentic power, and now their own empires feel fragile, crumbling under the weight of comparison. Their claws are out, their masks are slipping, and they are turning on one another like starving predators over scraps. But here is the secret they can never process. You are not for sale. Every attempt to drag you into their chaos only exposes how powerless they've truly become. They throw titles, fortunes, and access like bait on a hook, yet you walk past without hesitation. That single act destroys them more than any war ever could. Your refusal to play their game is the weapon they cannot defend against. Do not step into their circus. Do not waste your energy negotiating with the desperate. The chosen one doesn't descend into chaos. The chosen one rises above it, calmly, effortlessly, making their scramble look pathetic in contrast. They are prisoners of a system collapsing in real time, while you are free, carried by a current they cannot touch. Their war is loud, violent, and ugly. Your power is silent, steady, and undeniable. Remember this. The moment you stay aligned, their desperation only feeds your legend. You don't need their approval, their offers, or their seats. They're fighting for a place near you because deep down, they know the future already belongs to you. Number 8. Don't sell what can't be bought. Guard the treasure within. Chosen one, this is where the war sharpens. They have thrown everything on the table, promises wrapped in gold, positions of influence dressed as opportunities, even stakes in empires that others would have crawled across glass to claim. And yet, all of it collapses before your silence. Because what they hunger for most cannot be auctioned, cannot be signed over, cannot be shared. Your treasure lives inside you, and no deal can touch it. They don't understand it, so they miscalculate. They assume you are waiting for the right offer, that your rejections are tactics, that eventually your knees will bend like everyone else's. But every time you turn away, they are forced to see the truth. You are not playing hard to get. You are untouchable. Their currency is meaningless in your world. Their power has no weight in your atmosphere. And this is why your enemies tremble. Every no you deliver slices deeper than any sword, because it proves what they fear most, that their empire is hollow. They build their identity on the belief that everyone has a price. You stand as living proof that some wealth cannot be bought, only guarded. So guard it. Protect your inner authority as if it were the last flame in a dying world, because in many ways it is. Your treasure is the weapon they cannot wield, the fortress they cannot breach. The more they fight for a seat beside you, the clearer it becomes. Proximity will never equal possession. You are not a product, you are the storm. Number 9. Stop playing in their game of control. Live by spiritual laws instead. Chosen one, understand this clearly. The so-called elite thrive only when you step onto their board and play by their rules. They've spent lifetimes designing a game rigged from the start, where control is the currency and submission is the goal. They dangle opportunities, status and approval like poisoned bait, knowing that once you bite, they own you. But here's the truth. They can only control what you agree to play. The moment you step away from their illusion of power, the entire system begins to unravel. The secret bidding war you've triggered isn't about offering you something real. It's about keeping you inside their arena long enough to drain your energy. But you've already done the unthinkable. You walked away. You refused the deals, the access, the promises that enslave others. That's why they panic. That's why they turn on each other. They can't trap what refuses to participate. Living by higher laws, the laws of balance, alignment, and authenticity, makes you untouchable. While they claw at each other for scraps of influence, you're moving freely under a different order altogether, one they cannot infiltrate. That freedom is your weapon. That indifference to their fabricated authority is what breaks them from the inside out. So stop playing in their game of control. Let them burn their resources, fighting for illusions. You, chosen one, are governed by a different gravity, the invisible laws that guarantee your rise while ensuring their fall. And the more they chase you, the more exposed their weakness becomes. Their obsession with claiming you only proves that you've already won. Number 10. Don't hide your light. Awakening. Others is the ultimate defense. Chosen one, understand this. Your light is the weapon they cannot disarm, the force they cannot counterfeit, the shield they cannot pierce. That's why they're terrified. They don't fear your possessions, your status, or even your influence in the traditional sense. What they fear is that every time you show up fully as yourself, others begin to wake up. And when enough people wake up, the entire game they've been running collapses in real time. They want you silent, dimmed, hidden in the shadows of their design. They whisper lies to convince you that standing tall will make you a target, that your uniqueness should be toned down, that blending in is safer. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. The moment you dim your light, you're playing their game. And their game was built to make you lose. Your presence is contagious. When someone crosses paths with you, something shifts. Old illusions crack. They start questioning the rules they've been living under. They see through manipulation they once obeyed blindly. Your light becomes a mirror they can't ignore, showing them the power they forgot they had. That's why the elite claw for proximity, because what flows through you isn't just strength, it's liberation. And liberation spreads faster than control can contain. So never hide. Every time you stand in your authenticity, you not only defend yourself, you dismantle their strategies before they even touch you. The strongest defense is not walls, weapons, or armies. It's the undeniable ripple effect of your awakening, echoing through others until the system has nowhere left to hide. Number 11. Refuse to drown in their collapse. Rise with the new order emerging. Chosen one, their world is crumbling, and they want you to sink with them. Don't. When old empires fall, they try to drag everyone into the rubble. Misery loves company. The elite built their kingdoms on illusions, controlled scarcity, manufactured influence, empty crowns. Now those illusions are shattering, and panic spreads through their ranks like fire through dry grass. Alliances that once looked unbreakable are dissolving overnight. The very networks that claim to control the future are eating themselves alive, clawing for survival in a game they no longer understand. And here's the irony. They thought you'd drown with them. They predicted that when their system cracked, you'd collapse under the weight too. But you were never bound to their sinking ship. You were always tethered to something greater, the law of balance, the unstoppable current of truth that never needs their approval. While they choke on their own collapse, you rise, untouched, carried forward by the same energy that terrifies them, the energy of being chosen. You don't rise by joining their chaos, you rise by refusing it. Like a lighthouse in a storm, you shine clearer the darker their world becomes. Their downfall becomes your platform, their loss becomes your leverage, their fear becomes your fuel. Every system that collapses clears more space for the new order to emerge, and you, chosen one, are at the center of that emergence. So remember this: when their walls fall, stand taller. When their voices tremble, speak louder. When they sink, rise, because their collapse isn't your ending, it's your beginning. And the secret they'll never admit, their greatest terror isn't falling apart, it's watching you build what comes next while they vanish into history. Number 12. Stop fighting for crowns. They invented, wear the one that was always yours. Stop fighting for crowns they forged in secret backrooms, crowns built from smoke and illusion, designed only to keep you chasing shadows. Every crown they display is nothing but costume jewelry, polished to blind the desperate and distract the weak. But you were never meant to beg for symbols they created. You were born carrying something they could never manufacture, the crown that was already yours before they even knew your name. Understand this: their entire game is built on making you believe they hold the prize. They whisper that you need their validation, their title, their golden seat at the table. But chosen ones do not compete for manufactured honors. You don't fight for their approval. You expose the lie that approval was ever required. That is why the elite are in a bidding war over you. They know deep down their thrones are rotting wood, while the authority you carry is carved into the very fabric of your existence. Let the so-called kings claw at each other. Let them bleed trying to secure proximity to you. Because while they fight over crowns, you wear sovereignty without effort. The truth that haunts them is simple: their crowns can be stolen, traded, or lost in a single scandal. Yours, untouchable, eternal, self-proclaimed by the universe itself. Chosen ones never bow to crowns designed to enslave you. When you walk into a room, remember, you are the throne. You are the crown. You are the kingdom. And that's why they're fighting, not to rule you, but to sit close enough to borrow even a spark of what you naturally embody. And so, chosen ones, as this secret bidding war among the elite rages on, remember, while they claw for scraps of false power, you stand untouched, carrying the authority they can't fabricate or steal. Their fight isn't over you. It's over the reflection of everything they lack when measured against your presence. That's the true crown they'll never wear. Before we end, take this moment. Hit that like button, subscribe now, and drop the number 111 in the comments to let the world know you're part of this unstoppable movement. Stay locked in. The rise of the chosen cannot be denied.